every year on 4th of December, we celebrate Indian Navy Day to basically celebrate the successes of Indian Navy under Operation Trident, which we launched on 4th of December 1971. And this year also we are going to celebrate it, but with a new impetus, which is on the new Indian Maritime Doctrine, which is about no peace, no war. Hello, welcome to Shriram's IAS. My name is Aman Sharan. Today, I have brought a very important video in front of all of you, in which we'll be basically understanding what is the new maritime doctrine of India, which has been announced by the Chief of Naval Staff on the eve of Indian Navy Day. Now, before understanding the new maritime doctrine, let's look into the maritime stakes of India. Now, what are the maritime stakes of India? First of all, trade lifeline. The seas, the various oceans around India are the trade lifeline, because 97% of trade from India actually happens through the maritime sphere. Then choke point control. Of course, these all maritime choke points are strategic by nature. Why? Because they are concerned with the security of our nation. If these choke points or these strategic points, they are compromised, then it compromises our security. That's why maritime doctrine is very much important. Next is power projections. Of course, these maritime places, these are the positions to assert our power in the Indo-Pacific as well as the Indian Ocean region. So these are those places which are important for us from the various standpoint, trade as well as checkpoint, as well as to assert power in the whole region. Now, let's look into the new maritime doctrine, which is launched in this year itself. This particular practice started way earlier, but this particular doctrine is quite different from the earlier doctrines which came, because it has a nuance. इसका एक nuance है. आइए उसे समझते हैं. Now, it is the guiding blueprint. It is the blueprint which defines how the Navy operates across peace and conflict. पीस और कॉन्फ्लिक्ट दोनों में किस तरीके से ये ऑपरेट करेगी, ये हमें पता चलेगा थ्रू दिस डॉक्ट्राइन. This doctrine will not only deal with how the Indian Navy will respond in the case of war. If some particular country has launched a particular war on us, or we have launched a war on them, but also during the peace time. Next, modern challenges. This particular doctrine will basically deal with all the modern challenges which has come. Modern challenges of the international diplomacy, of globalization, of multilateral relations, as well as in the era of digitization and artificial intelligence. Next, multi-domain focus. Its focus will be across a lot of domains, because it's a doctrine. It's not a particular strategy. It is the principles, the guidelines which will dictate how the Indian Navy will respond in Indian seas in the time to come. Now, the main focus or the tagline of this particular doctrine is no war, no peace. Now, what is no war, no peace conflict? Let's look into this particular part. No war, no peace basically talks about the gray zone recognition. इस बात को आप समझिएगा that हमेशा हम war या peace के situation में नहीं हो सकते, because these are two extremes. Sometimes and most of the times we'll be in the middle of it. हम उसके middle में रहते हैं. हमेशा वो सिचुएशंस रहती हैं जिसमें कि वॉर हो सकता है, कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स हो सकते हैं, बिकॉज वी आर सराउंडेड बाय हॉस्टाइल नेशंस. लाइक व्हाट? लाइक पाकिस्तान, लाइक चाइना. दीज आर हॉस्टाइल नेशंस. एंड इफ वी लुक एट द रीसेंट ट्रेड रिलेटेड इश्यूज विद यूएस, and historically also, US has also appeared as a hostile nation as far as Indian defense is concerned. So these are few factors because of which we are always in gray zone. And that's why such kind of strategies are important, which deal or which basically signify that only war or peace will not decide what will be our take. We will anticipate what can happen, and on that anticipation we will basically act. What else is there? Silent competition. There is silent competition happening all the time. Why? Because of the global scenario. There will always be situations in which two nations which are neighboring, they will be under conflict. दे विल नॉट लॉन्च वॉर ऑन ईच अदर, एक दूसरे पर हमेशा वॉर लॉन्च नहीं करेंगे वो लोग, बट दिल बी साइलेंट कॉम्पिटिशन अमंग देम. दोस कॉम्पिटिशन कैन बी टेरिटोरियल, कैन ऑल्सो बी डिफेंस रिलेटेड, कैन बी सिक्योरिटी रिलेटेड, कैन बी एथनिसिटी रिलेटेड. So that silent competition will always be there. What else is there? Continuous vigilance. Continuous vigilance, why? So as to anticipate what can happen. क्या हो सकता है, यह जानने के लिए ही नो वॉर नो पीस कंसेप्ट बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है समझना. बिकॉज ये कंसेप्ट न वॉर टाइम की बात करता है न पीस टाइम की बात करता है, बल्कि एक नुआंस टेक लेता है ऑन द ग्लोबल सिनेरियो. What is that nuance take? That you are, or a particular country like India, which matters, it will always be under threat. That threat can't be direct. वो direct threat हो सकता है ना हो, but that threat can be something which can appear any time. And that's why we need to be ever prepared. And that's what the concept of no war and no peace is talking about under the Indian Maritime Doctrine of 2025. What else is there? What are gray zone threats? Gray zone threats समझते हैं हम, बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट फैक्टर है, ध्यान से देखिएगा. Now, covert maritime moves, foreign ships shadow and provoke near Indian waters. जो foreign ships हैं, जो alien ships हैं, means the ships who don't belong to Indian Navy, they always shadow our moves. They keep on shadowing us. वो हमें कहीं ना कहीं we can say instigate करने की कोशिश करते हैं. तो ऐसे जो एक्ट्स हैं, इनको समझने के लिए ग्रे जोन के अंदर कोवर्ट मैरिटाइम मूव्स को रीड करना, समझना और साथ ही साथ एक स्ट्रेटेजी बना के रखना जिसके थ्रू इन मूव्स को काउंटर किया जा सके, ताकि फुल स्केल वॉर की नौबत ही ना आए. ऐसा करने की जरूरत होती है अंडर द ग्रे जोन थ्रेट्स. व्हाट एल्स इज देयर? साइबर एंड इंफॉर्मेशन अटैक्स. एज वी ऑल नो, बिकॉज ऑफ द स्प्रेड ऑफ डिजिटाइजेशन, देयर इज ऑलवेज अ थ्रेट ऑफ cyber attack as well as information wars, because information is power in present day and age. A small misinformation can cause huge issues, and that's why such kind of attacks, which are not physical by nature but which are digital by nature, they need to be countered. What else is there? Below threshold hostility. कहने का मतलब ये कि जो ग्रे जोन थ्रेट्स हैं उसके अंदर ऐसी हॉस्टिलिटीज या ऐसी दुश्मनी की जाती है जिसमें कि पूरी लड़ाई ना हो. वो थ्रेशोल्ड जहां पर कि वी कैन डिक्लेयर कि इट इज वॉर, वहां तक पहुंचने के पहले ही द एनिमी कंट्री और द फॉरेन कंट्री कैन कॉज अ लॉट ऑफ डैमेज. और यही सब बातों को कॉन्स्टिट्यूट किया जाता है अंडर ग्रे जोन थ्रेट्स. ये सब के सब ग्रे जोन थ्रेट्स में आते हैं बिकॉज these are, we can say, something on the spectrum. They are neither full scale war or nor full scale peace time. Okay, what else is there? India's counter approach. How will be India's counter approach? India's counter approach will be maritime domain awareness. सबसे पहले तो अवेयरनेस रखना थ्रू सैटेलाइट्स, ड्रोन्स, सेंसर्स which track every movement. What else is there? Forward naval presence. कहने का मतलब ये कि पेट्रोल्स और एक्सरसाइजेस विल इंश्योर दैट वी आर ऑलरेडी एट द जंक्चर वेयर दीज काइंड ऑफ इश्यूज कैन कम अप. जहां पे इस तरह का दुस्साहस किया जा सकता है बाय द फॉरेन नेशंस, वहां पहले से ही सजग हैं, पहले से ही खड़े हैं, फॉरवर्ड पोस्ट पे ऑलरेडी खड़े हैं, तैनात हैं. एंड दैट्स हाउ यू कैन काउंटर ग्रे जोन थ्रेट्स. व्हाट एल्स इज देयर? इकोनॉमिक सिक्योरिटी, प्रोटेक्टिंग ट्रेड रूट्स, बिकॉज व्हाई? Trade is very important aspect of economy of a nation, and if the economy of a nation is going fine, then it can take other kind of risks. It can keep itself secure. You go and look at all the major powers right now, whether it be US, China or the Western countries. They are very economically secure, and to keep ourselves Indians economically secure, we need to secure our trade routes, because they are the lifelines of our economic system. Or by securing those trade routes, we are basically going to counter the gray zone threats. Now, what are the strategic outcomes of this particular doctrine? इस डॉक्ट्रिन से हमें क्या फायदे हो सकते हैं? सबसे पहला तो we can become the net security provider in Indian Ocean region. And anyway, India is supposed to be. India is the biggest nation in the Indian Ocean region. So we should be the net security provider. It is our responsibility to ensure the security of this region. And it can only be done by proactiveness. And this doctrine talks about proactiveness in specific. What else is there? Balanced deterrence. कहीं ना कहीं बैलेंस की जरूरत है कि कितना डराना है और कितना पीछे हटना है. It's like a game of chess. At times we need to have an active stand and at time passive so that full scale war doesn't happen, because war is going to cost us also economically. So that's why need to have a balance in our approach and should treat this particular doctrine of no war and no peace as a game of chess. What else is there? Security growth with link. ओके, सिक्योरिटी ग्रोथ लिंक कहने का मतलब ये कि जो सिक्योरिटी है या जो मैरिटाइम सिक्योरिटी है उसका ग्रोथ के साथ जो लिंकेज है, दैट इज गोइंग टू बी एक्सप्लोर्ड इन दिस. व्हाई? बिकॉज इफ आफ्टर दिस डॉक्ट्रिन, इफ वी आर एबल टू सिक्योर द मैरिटाइम सिक्योरिटी, देन इट विल बेसिकली ट्रांसलेट इनटू द इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ. व्हाई? ट्रेड विल फ्लरिश, and the flourishing of trade will generally and specifically cause the growth in the whole national income. Now, these were the aspects which we need to understand about this particular new doctrine which has been launched by the Indian Navy. I hope this particular session was fruitful to all of you. That's it from my side. Thank you.